In the neon-lit corridors of modern existence, where screens flicker with ceaseless stimuli and the cacophony of digital noise drowns the whispers of the soul, a silent epidemic festers a castration not of flesh, but of spirit. This is the tale of the overstimulated man whose essence has been dulled, whose passions have been pacified, and whose will has been shackled by the very comforts he was told would liberate him. Carl Jung once warned that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Yet, in a world where acceptance is outsourced to likes and shares, where identity is curated rather than discovered, the modern man has become a stranger to himself. He scrolls endlessly, seeking validation in the void, anesthetizing his discontent with digital opiates, unaware that each swipe further distances him from his own psyche. Friedrich Nietzsche foresaw this descent into mediocrity, cautioning against the emergence of the last man, a being devoid of ambition, risk, and depth, content with comfort and routine. This last man, Nietzsche lamented, makes everything small. He is the antithesis of the Übermensch, the self-overcoming individual who dares to forge his own path amidst chaos. Aldous Huxley, too, envisioned a dystopia not of oppression but of indulgence. In Brave New World, he depicted a society subdued by pleasure, where humans are conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs. Huxley observed that the horrors of modern pleasure lie in their ability to dull the mind and spirit, leading to a populace that is enervated and debilitated. This triad of thinkers Jung, Nietzsche, Huxley, in their own way, illuminated the perils of a life unexamined, of a soul unchallenged. They beckoned us to confront the shadows within, to embrace the tumult of existence, and to resist the seductive lull of complacency. To reclaim our vitality, we must first recognize the chains that bind us. The overstimulation of modern life is not merely a byproduct of technological advancement. It is a deliberate design to keep us distracted, docile, and disconnected from our inner selves. By confronting this reality, by daring to unplug and turn inward, we embark on the arduous yet liberating journey of self-discovery. In this odyssey, discomfort becomes our compass, guiding us through the labyrinth of our psyche. We must learn to sit with our unease, to question our impulses, and to seek meaning beyond the superficial. As Jung posited, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Let us then cast off the shackles of overstimulation, reject the emasculation of our spirit, and stride boldly into the wilderness of our own consciousness. For it is there, amidst the chaos and the unknown, that we will rediscover our strength, our purpose, and our humanity. The path is treacherous, the journey unending, but the reward is profound. A life of authenticity, depth, and unyielding passion. Embrace the struggle, for in it lies the essence of the human experience. And what is passion, if not the fire that once burned in the eyes of men who carved nations out of wilderness? Where has that fire gone? Look around you, look inside you. What once roared now simmers in silence. It is not because the flame is deaded, is because it has been smothered by convenience, pacified by abundance, dulled by dopamine, fed to you like breadcrumbs to a bird trapped in a gilded cage. You have not lost your power. You have simply forgotten how to wield it. The overstimulated man is not weak by nature. He is born with the instincts of his ancestors, the hunter, the protector, the builder. But those instincts have been hijacked by the endless scroll, the flashing ads, the algorithmic chains that reward apathy and punish presence. We were meant to suffer, to strive, to wrestle with our demons, not sedate them with screens and synthetic pleasure. What has happened to your hunger? You have been told that anger is toxic, that masculinity is dangerous, that desire must be sterilized, ambition anesthetized, and aggression dissolved into politeness. But hear this truth. There is a sacred rage within every man, a force not meant for destruction, but for direction. Anger, when alchemized through awareness, becomes drive. Desire, when cleansed of distortion, becomes purpose. Discipline, when forged in solitude, becomes divinity. But modernity castrates this transformation before it even begins. It lulls you into a coma of contentment. Your instincts atrophy. Your will decays. And your soul, your radiant, untamed soul, becomes a whisper beneath the noise. This is spiritual sterilization. And it is the most dangerous form of slavery. The world no longer needs more tame men. It needs dangerous men who have mastered their danger. It needs men who can walk through the fire of discomfort and emerge not burnt, but reborn. Men who are no longer stimulated into submission, but awakened into sovereignty. Do not be fooled by the illusion of choice. You are not free if your desires are programmed. You are not strong if your strength is only performed for digital applause. You are not alive if you fear silence, if you flee boredom, if you cannot sit with your own mind without reaching for a screen. You were born for not war against others, but war against your own lower self, against the part of you that seeks comfort over courage, likes over legacy, sedation over salvation. And the battlefield is your daily life. The enemy is not out there, it is in your habits, in your indulgences, in your refusal to confront the emptiness that lurks beneath the surface. What are you hiding from? When you strip away the noise, the distractions, the validation, what remains? That is the real you. And that is who you must confront. Jung spoke of individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating the shadow. The parts of you that you disown, repress, and fear are the keys to your liberation. The overstimulated man avoids his shadow. The awakened man walks into it. To become whole, you must first be shattered. You must let the false self die the performative, placated version of you that society rewards. And in the ashes of that self, the true man will rise. He will not be addicted to pleasure. He will be devoted to purpose. He will not fear silence. He will dwell in it like a monk preparing for war. He will not be driven by desire. He will be led by vision. He will not be a slave to validation. He will validate his own soul through discipline, solitude, and inner knowing. This is the resurrection of the masculine spirit, not as a tyrant, but as a torchbearer. Not as a performer, but as a protector. Not as a boy chasing dopamine, but as a man forging destiny. You are not overstimulated. You are under-challenged. And that is a fate worse than exhaustion. It is a life of quiet surrender. But if you feel even the faintest flicker within you, the urge to break free, to go deeper, to rise again, then you are not too far gone. That flicker is your soul calling you home. Answer it in silence, in suffering, in sovereignty. The soul of man, when left unstimulated by purpose, will rot in the palace of comfort. You were not made for this cage, no matter how padded its walls, no matter how flattering its mirrors. Every time you reach for your phone, before you reach for your mind, you reinforce the lie that you are powerless. Every time you run from boredom, you run from yourself. And boredom, my friend, is the threshold, not the enemy. Boredom is the silence before the storm, the stillness before the truth begins to whisper. It is the sacred doorway that overstimulation slams shut. Because if you sit long enough in the emptiness, you begin to feel what you've been avoiding all along, your disconnection from meaning, your distance from God, your betrayal of your own potential. You were born to feel deeply, to rage cleanly, to love ferociously. But now you sedate every fire. The pain, numbed. The hunger, fed with poison. The calling, buried beneath notifications, mindless pleasure, and cheap connection. And then you wonder why you feel like a ghost inside your own body. The castration of the modern man is not just a metaphor. It is spiritual, psychological, and existential. It is the severing of instinct from awareness, the severing of discipline from desire, the severing of the masculine from its own mythos. You are living in a dream manufactured by people who profit from your sedation. Think about that. A man disconnected from his own primal instinct is no threat to tyranny. He's manageable, predictable, passive. That's what overstimulation does. It keeps the lion in the zoo, fat and forgetful of the hunt. But deep in your bones, the lion still breathes. And the moment you starve the noise, the moment you remove the synthetic stimuli from your life, is the moment you'll hear the growl again. Faint, ferocious, familiar. That is your true nature. But to hear it clearly, you must return to silence, to stillness. You must build what Jung called a conscious relationship with the unconscious. Not suppress your shadow, but engage it. Not escape discomfort, but study it. Every impulse you feel to run, to scroll, to binge, to click is a gate, a portal into a deeper question. What am I distracting myself from? What do I fear in the silence? Who would I be without all this noise? These are not questions for the weak. They are rites of passage. To walk this path is to shed everything you were taught was necessary and to reclaim what was always sacred. It is not asceticism, it is power. It is not withdrawal, it is war. A war against everything artificial that has infested your instincts and claimed your masculinity. It is time to stop managing your soul like a to-do list. Let it roar again. Let it suffer so it can stretch. Let it fast so it can feast on what is real. Let it be alone so it can remember the sound of its own heartbeat. That is how you uncastrate the spirit, not by adding more, but by subtracting, by burning the distractions to the ground, by facing the void without blinking. And when you do, the world will try to seduce you back into sedation. It will call you extreme, rigid, dangerous. Let it, because that is the price of reclaiming your sovereignty. You will be misunderstood, laughed at, feared, but beneath the mockery, they will sense something they've lost. Power. You will walk into rooms, and people will feel it before you speak a presence that cannot be bought, cannot be copied, and cannot be distracted. That presence is your birthright, but only if you're willing to reclaim it, not through comfort, but through confrontation. You are not meant to be entertained. You are meant to be initiated. This is your initiation. This is the rebirth of the primal, the spiritual, the sacred masculine. Welcome to the silence. Now listen. Listen, because in the silence your soul begins to speak the language you forgot. It does not speak in likes. It does not whisper through screens. And it does not stutter in the presence of artificial light. It speaks through symbols, instincts, dreams. It speaks in your restlessness, in your insomnia, in your quiet resentment of a life that looks fine but feels hollow. Jung called this the return of the repressed, the parts of your soul that you buried under busyness and digital distractions, now rising back up, demanding attention, refusing to be silenced. You don't need another app. You need an exorcism, a soul retrieval, because the overstimulated man is not merely distracted, he is possessed. Possessed by every false god offered to him, convenience, pleasure, status, aesthetics. And every time he bows to these gods, his psyche fractures a little more. The self, the true self, becomes obscured by performance. But the truth is this: a man who cannot sit alone in a room with his own thoughts is already owned, already defeated. Solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is sacred. It is the crucible where the noise is burned off and only the essential remains. That is why the ancients retreated to the wilderness, why prophets heard God in caves, why warriors sought vision in isolation, not to escape life, but to confront it without interference. When was the last time you confronted your life without distraction? When was the last time you fasted not just from food, but from dopamine? From validation? From stimulation? That fasting is where the fire is rekindled. That absence is where the masculine is reawakened. Because in the overstimulated world, attention is the new currency, and the man who controls his attention controls his kingdom. But the man whose attention is scattered, he becomes a puppet, yanked around by every advertisement, every trend, every false urgency. He becomes useful to others, but useless to himself. And that, brother, is the ultimate tragedy. Your power lies not in how much you do, but in how little you allow to hijack your mind, in how fiercely you protect the sacred temple of your inner world. Because only in that inner world will you rediscover the wild, the divine, the mythic parts of yourself that no one taught you how to touch, because no one wanted you to. An overstimulated man is easy to manage, but a spiritually awakened man, a man who can sit in fire without flinching, a man who can deny pleasure and live in purpose, a man who knows the mythic depth of his own soul, that man is dangerous, because he cannot be seduced, because he cannot be controlled, because he remembers. He remembers that masculinity is not a performance, but a path, not an aesthetic, but a sacrifice, not about dominating others, but about mastering one's own chaos. And from that mastery, discipline is born not from force, but from reverence. You do not become disciplined by hating yourself. You become disciplined by loving who you could be. Every time you say no to the screen, the impulse, the easy way, you are saying yes to that version of you who is still possible. The version that stands tall when the world crumbles. The version who walks away from hollow applause to face the wilderness of truth. He lives inside you, and he is starving. Starving for stillness, for struggle, for meaning. Do not feed him dopamine. Feed him discipline. Do not coddle him. Challenge him. Do not stimulate him. Awaken him. This is the rebirth. And like all true births, it begins in pain, in blood, in separation from the false world into the real. You were not meant to be a slave to stimulation. You were meant to be a sovereign of spirit. And sovereignty cannot be given. It must be earned in the silence, in the fire, in the refusal to live one more day half alive. So here, you stand naked before yourself. No more illusions, no more excuses. Just the raw truth pulsing in your chest. You have been living beneath yourself. Not because you are weak, but because you were sedated, conditioned to forget, programmed to obey, taught to trade your fire for comfort, your instincts for algorithms, your inner voice for the opinions of others. But now the veil has been lifted. You have seen the machine end, you have felt the ache of your own unexpressed power. That ache is sacred. That ache is your soul remembering who it is before the world told it who to be. And now you have a choice, not a choice given to you by the system, a deeper one. A choice between remaining numb, scrolling through the wasteland of overstimulation, or stepping back into the sacred chaos of your becoming. You can walk away from this truth, back into the noise, back into the false comfort. But know this, the longer you ignore the soul, the louder it screams, until one day your body breaks, your mind collapses, or worse, your spirit goes silent for good. Or you can rise, you can become a man who reclaims his attention like sacred currency, who moves through the world, not overstimulated, but overflowing with focus, presence, and primal power. A man who chooses solitude over sedation, purpose over pleasure, depth over distraction. That man terrifies the world because he cannot be bought. He cannot be shamed. He cannot be owned. He does not seek validation. He radiates self-respect. He does not conform commands. He does not chase comfort that carries the fire. That fire is inside you right now. flickering beneath the surface, waiting to be fed not with entertainment, but with meaning, not with indulgence, but with initiation. You are not broken. You are bored. You are not lost. You are overfed on lies. You are not weak. You are untrained in your own power. But that power, ancient, untamed sovereignness, never left you. It has been waiting in the silence. And now the silence has spoken. The overstimulated man dies here. The awakened man is born. And he walks forward not with noise, but with presence. Not with fear, but with fire. And nothing in this world, not fame, not failure, not pleasure, not pain, will ever own him again. Because he remembers who he is. And he will never forget again.